There's about 300 plus data points that we've identified that go into a business being digital and online. And it doesn't mean they're selling online. It just means to have any sort of online presence. There's about 300 plus digital points. And so I think a lot of times they'll be able to identify 5: domain, hosting, email address, website, a social profile, right? And so that's where we really dive a lot deeper and get all of that prepared so that we know for sure that they do in fact have ownership as well. When are things going to expire so we don't run into the domain issue that you talked about, and really putting all of that together. And then we give them a comprehensive handoff at the end and say, here's all of the digital assets that you own. Here's everything you need to need. And then now you can go to that deal with a more structured, confident, solution of, yes, here are my assets.
Yeah. And if at that point, when you're trying to identify the 300 things, which I would think off the top of my head, maybe 20, 300 is a lot. While you're doing that, I'm assuming people run into issues, right, where they can't find something. Are you able to also assist them with maybe hunting down a password or something? Maybe give me a story of or something that's usually not thought of that maybe people can kind of prepare themselves for.
Yeah, that's a great question. And absolutely, that's what the audit side is about, is we know that there's going to be things they can't find. And so we'll work through the process of all right, who was in charge, what are previous vendors, who's current vendors or employees, could it be a personal account? Is it a business account? And we start working through that recovery because you really can't hand off and sell a business if you're missing some of the critical login details to something or the ownership to something. So yeah, we'll go through that whole process with them. And there's certain ones, Facebook, good luck recovering it. It's not going to happen. But beyond that, for the most part, we can. It just kind of comes down to what is the cost, and not necessarily my cost, but the legal cost. So for example, and not completely related to the transaction side of it all, but we had a client call us the other day in a panic, and they were just like, our web developer passed away. And I was like, okay, great, we'll go ahead and take over and make the edits. Sorry for the loss. What do we need to do? And from there, they were like, oh no, we don't have a domain access. He had used a reseller to purchase that. They don't have hosting access. He was using a reseller for that. They didn't have access to their website. We tried logging in. We tried doing the back doors, everything we could think of. At some point, they removed the email address as well from the back end of the site. So even though there was an email that said, hey, client, or hey, company owner, here's your username and password to your website, they didn't work. And so, we had to go through this. But in that situation, we had to start asking for death certificates. We had to start asking for legal to provide us the documents and paperwork that were needed for the actual, domain to recover it. They really didn't want to talk to anybody outside of the gentleman who passed because it was also a resold account. Mm-hmm. And businesses don't always know that. They don't know what's happening in the background. And even for us to go do the research, it was our, years of experience that knew how do we get past what we're seeing to actually dive even deeper into who is in fact hosting this, because we know, it's not what it shows on the who is or whatever. So that's an example, of, but had that happened getting ready to, sell, or if it's a key employee and they're the ones that something happens to them, or they just leave suddenly one day and they're just like, I'm done, I'm over it, I'm leaving. What are they taking with them? So while it's, a bit of an extreme example, it can happen in a lot of situations of who owns this? Is it a vendor? Is it an employer? Is it the actual owner of the business who owns this?
Thank you all for listening to Before You Buy or Sell a Business. If you found value in this episode, please follow the show, leave a positive review, and share it with someone. For more information, check out jaredwjohnson.com. We'll see you all next time.